I'm Gabe Nelson from Automotive News, and I'd like to thank you all for being part of our Google Plus Hangout today. We have 5 guests with us today, all of them members of this year's class of 40 under 40 honorees. They come from dealerships all over the United States, so please wave to the online audience as I introduce you. We've got Matthew Geddes, General Manager of Hendrick Chevrolet in Hoover, Alabama. We've got Bobby Herron, Director of Digital Services at Garber Automotive Group in Saginaw, Michigan. We've got Alex Perdikas, General Manager of Coons of Silver Spring in Silver Spring, Maryland. We've got Adil Ilamri, General Manager of AutoNation Nissan Arapahoe in Centennial, Colorado. And last but not least, we've got Jason Puga, General Manager of Land Rover San Diego in San Diego, California. Before we kick things off, I'd like to thank Ally Auto for helping make this event possible and to welcome Andrea Riley, the Chief Marketing Officer of Ally Auto. Andrea?
Thanks, Gabe, and good afternoon to everybody. Thanks so much for being on the Hangout. On behalf of Ally, we're really excited to be here, and we're really excited to sponsor this event. And I would like to say a special thanks to all of our panelists, Matthew, Alex, Bobby, Jason, and Adil. We really appreciate you guys being here, and we're very excited to learn about how you're using new technologies in your dealerships, and hopefully everybody on the Hangout can take some best practices back to their stores. So let's get started. Gabe, back to you.
All right, thanks for joining us, Andrea. And now let's hear from our panelists, the reason you're all here. My first question is about big data. This generation of business leaders can measure everything in ways that weren't possible even 10 years ago. And I want to know how all of you are harnessing all that power to help out your businesses. So first, Jason?
Hey, thanks, Gabe. What we're doing here at Land Rover San Diego is a little maybe unique, maybe not so unique, but we've taken a different approach of 65% of our marketing budget we've distributed and allocated towards digital marketing. It's not to say that we don't believe in traditional media. We absolutely believe in traditional media. We believe, though, that the digital marketing phase has a bigger reach out into the market and provide us a bigger and better positive return on investment. So some of the things we've done recently is we've taken zip codes, we've mapped them out using our own past sales history, using a lot of our partners, DealerSocket, vAuto, JD Powers, and looking at what the trends are in the market, who our demographic is, and specifically for our demographic at Land Rover, we're usually an ultra high luxury car, and we have a different demographic, but we have a lot of new models coming in. So we've taken that map, we've mapped all our customers, we've mapped our potential customers, we've mapped what our market share could potentially be, and started targeting with a rifle approach rather than a shotgun approach, all our SEM, SEO, and what we're doing in that market. So we've identified that and been very successful in doing so. Well, again, we haven't gone away from the traditional media. What we do is we tie traditional media, whether it be television, print, or any event activation, we tie it all back to that so we can get them all back to our digital assets, making it more convenient and easier for our customers to reach us.
Yeah, that's really cool. Bobby?
Yeah, okay, so something that we've really used big data for is Google Analytics. We're really big on monitoring what we're doing in our stores and how effective they are. So rather than guessing, we've taken the guesswork out of it, and we've created pretty heavy filters inside of Google Analytics. One of the things that we were really successful in was a few years ago we started creating content pages based on things people were searching for in our market that we didn't see a presence for online. So a good example would be our Garber Buick store created a page for fender flares. You wouldn't think that would be a huge deal, right? But nobody had a presence for that in the market. So we started applying the content to a custom page and monitoring the traffic that was coming to it. And we were seeing hundreds of people viewing that in our market. And we were watching them come in and submit a lead form and, run out of things like that, which is always good. But what we found was that our data shows that as long as we're relevant to what the consumer is looking for, then we're relevant overall. We show up high. We're getting a lot of quality traffic off of those sources. So just kind of something that's great to keep in mind. I mean, for example, if you go to Google and you look up fender flares in Saginaw, Michigan, you're going to see we dominate everywhere on that page. But it's because we took quality content and we looked at what the customer was searching for inside of webmaster tools in Google, and then we applied it to our site. And that's a strategy we've used for everything since then.
Yeah, it's really smart to be looking for what the customer is looking for. Matthew, any thoughts on this?
Absolutely. In the part that we've applied in our store is we know how important time is to the customer. When they come on our property, it's all about getting them through the process as quickly as we can. When I first started selling cars, customers went to 4 to 5 dealerships before they made a decision. We're now down to 1.5 stores before we get to the until they get through the buying cycle. So our focus is on time and helping them get through the process as quickly as we can.
Great. Wanted to ask sort of a follow-up question here. With all this data, younger people are getting used to being constantly plugged into work. Personally, the first thing I do when I wake up is check my smartphone. I know a lot of people can relate to that. So, having all this data at your fingertips, it can become a bit of an addiction. But how do you start the day? How do you get yourself started on the right foot? And so I guess, Alex, could you give us your thoughts on this?
Yeah, I mean, one of the things that was drilled into me at a young age with sports was preparation. And so the first thing, I get up very early every day. I get up at 4. And the first thing I do is I log into our CRM tool and go through leads and analyze them, see where they came from, see who they are, what they're looking for, try to determine what we've got to do to make a deal immediately, if not within a couple days. And that helps build up a packet, so to speak, for our Save a Deal meeting every morning. And doing that every day for anywhere from 1.5 to 2 hours every morning, in addition to reviewing appraisals in vAuto, and just having the ability to go in from the new technology that we have nowadays to be able to go right into a CRM tool, go right into vAuto, and analyze your business from home in the early morning hours of the day can get you just so well prepared that by the time you walk into the showroom, you're so much further ahead of the game. Not so much ahead of the competition, but just ahead in terms of your people internally, knowing more than they do and asking them questions and getting them thinking about what we've got to do to make every possible deal today. So that's a huge part of our process and my day-to-day discipline and routine.
Yeah. Does anyone else want to give us some insight into your day-to-day routine, how you get ready for the day?
Yeah, Gabe, I mean, I guess I'm still on that same page as he is too. The first thing I do is look at my VIN Mobile, which is our CRM on our, on my smartphone. And I'm able to look at that, gauge the entire day, see where we have needs that need to be met and what's kind of going on in our showrooms. In addition to that, immediately checking email, checking text, making sure that anything that I have up and coming for the day is planned and ready to go. I think our success points start with efficiency right now.
Anyone else? All right,
I'm pretty similar. This is Jason from Land Rover. I'm pretty similar to what they're talking about. I think I'm on the cusp, though, of the millennial and the Gen Xers, so I try to give myself, I think about my employees and quality of life. The good thing about all this technology is we can open it up and get to the information we're looking for quicker than we used to, so we don't have to have all the paperwork or somebody sending a whole bunch of email reports at the end of the evening. It's easier to do. So when I do wake up, the last thing I want to do is get to my iPad and start doing it, but shortly thereafter, before you get in the office, you can actually have that information, and it's great. It's a lot of fun, and it's easy to do, and you can hold people accountable in a positive way.
Yeah.
Great. I want to shift the topic over to social media a little bit. Social media is such a double-edged sword. It can be great for the business, but it can also get you in a little bit of trouble, and it's so hard, such a challenge to be authentic. Wanted to get your various thoughts on best way to utilize social media. Adil?
Yeah, actually, with social media, our goal was at the dealership, we wanted to leverage our employees' personal networks through social media to help create a nice digital community. We have a great culture at the dealership, happy employees that have been with us for a long time. Our challenge was we identified employees that weren't comfortable or even interested in using social media. What we did in response, we did an employee survey to identify who needs help. We put together a basic social media training class that was optional for all employees. We took a professional photo for every employee. We helped people create their profile, and we encouraged people to really, friend each other from within. What we learned from that, from doing that, is people wanted to have the freedom to share their thoughts with their friends about what's going on at work. We feel our business is going to benefit from it in the long term when people are loud and proud of the place they work at, and why not share it when in their own community? And I think we see it as an opportunity to attract more customers that way.
But they're not required to do it or anything, are they?
No, completely optional.
Mm-hmm. Anyone else have any thoughts to share?
Yeah, Gabe, one of the things that we've been really successful with at our stores, and I would suggest for other dealers alike, is we've really taken an opportunity to incorporate our employees' moments. So whether they're promotions, congratulations, birthdays, events, and really post that proudly on our pages. By doing that, the employees, family, and friends have not only just given us a generic like, but they've begun following us. They like to see the accomplishments of the people that they know and love, and we've been really successful with that throughout the stores on increasing our presence. Big believer that social media is about peer recognition and branding. It's not necessarily about selling, but we have to be where our customers are, and right now, that's where they're at.
Yeah. Anyone else?
I agree with Bob.
Go ahead.
I agree with Bobby. We just recently did a study on our social media platforms and realized that, although we have quite a bit of followers and likes and relative to our competitors, what we did notice was we looked at a series of different tests and tried different examples of posts and tweets and Instagrams, and what we noticed was the engagement was coming from our true demographic, and we just needed to concentrate on what that was going on. So we just recently went through a whole series of tests, but it is truly about branding, and it is about being where our consumers are and being in front of them and giving them the information they desire.
Great. Well, unless someone else wants to have something to add, I think we're going to move on to the next question, which is about managing the younger generation and older generation, because of course this is the 40 under 40 honoree group. It's no secret that young people and old people think a little differently. How do you sort of cross-pollinate those ideas and ways of thinking between the veteran employees at the dealership and the younger, maybe millennial generation of employees who are coming in? What can they learn from each other? Bobby?
So this is one of my favorite topics and one that I'm really passionate about. I've been in the car business for about 15 years, just coming straight out of high school and working my way up. And I was lucky enough during that time to learn that even though technology is big for me and I can push it, it wasn't that way for everybody. So we've kind of started to incorporate some of the things that we've all learned over the last couple of years, but myself especially, which is that if you take someone who's younger, a millennial if you will, and you pair them with somebody who's of the older generation, or what we like to call a veteran, you truly can come out with an amazing compromise between the two, and they bring out the strengths and weaknesses in one another. A good example of that would be working the service drive. And I'm going to use that because I feel like a lot of dealers are watching us, so they're going to understand that. But we often tell people, go out and work the service drive, go out and prospect, meet people, do what you can, and then we watch and we wonder why they don't go out there. And the truth is, the veterans that we have, it's not comfortable for them to initiate contact. They came from a very long time of where privacy was a big issue and you didn't really talk about things that were outside of what the conversation was centered on, where the millennials, this younger generation, they share everything. They've shared their whole lives. So for them to walk out on the service drive and have a conversation is just normal. It's no big deal to strike that up. They sell through technology, they push through smart apps, and they really focus on things on vehicles that show technology and what you can do and how we're progressing, where the veterans lend the art of the close to that younger generation. That's not something that you can teach them right out the gate. It's something you learn with experience. So putting the two together, taking a millennial and taking a veteran and saying strengths and weaknesses, you've got one teaching the other every part of the business at its best. And I don't think there's any better way to do that. We can't survive without one or the other, but definitely putting them together and letting them work as one and learn from one another is a great way to make sure we're still around in a couple of years.
Great. Anyone else have any thoughts on the generational divide?
One thing I would say, Gabe, is just, the one thing that we always have to remember in our business, because of all the technology, all the texting and the emailing and, social media, the one thing that I am constantly reminded of is that this is a people business, and at the end of the day, there's a someone's making a major transaction, which is the second biggest investment they're going to make next to their home. And they want to deal with people that they feel they can trust and comfortable with, and that's where a lot of our veterans, you really see that reminder on a daily basis. That whole, the whole people skills, relationship skills, and so forth. And it's a good reminder for a lot of our team here.
Anyone else? All right, well, I'm going to move on to the next question. Before we get to the audience questions, and we have a lot of good questions coming in, I wanted to ask you, being 40 under 40s, if you could give me a little bit of what you'd say is the secret to your success. So what's allowed you to sort of find such success in the retail business at a relatively young age? I'm going to open that up. I'm going to open that up to anyone who's got some thoughts for me.
I guess I'll start. So I would say that truly the secret to where I've been successful in business, it comes from the networking that I do. It comes from the relationships I've built. But really it's coming in every day, checking your ego and knowing that you always have more to learn. There's no such thing as being an expert in anything, and being open-minded to change and growth. I pride myself on having a team that's smarter than me. So they're teaching me new stuff all the time and keeping me on my toes, and I'm grateful for that every day, and it's how I've gotten to where I'm at, and it's how I'll continue to do that.
Someone else?
I would say the important thing would be to focus on the things you can control. You know, the thing about this business is it's easy to look at the news, the weather, the economy, and blame things on a lot of other environmental things that you can't change. You know, and if we just focus on our 10 feet of space, focus on our job, come to work, and prepare ourselves as professionals and work on our craft, you'll be successful. You know, and don't worry about all those other things you can't change. So that would be my 2 cents.
Yeah. Adil?
Yeah, I know this industry is fantastic. You know, I truly believe in being in a great knowledge transfer environment and continue to be a great student. And really, if there was one thing, no matter what position you're in the car business, it's great to be an advanced student at all time.
Great. Alex?
Yeah, I would say just stay focused on the basics and the fundamentals. Don't get too caught up in the next greatest idea that, you know, may or may not work out over the next 6 months to a year. Just, you know, I think we all see it every day in our business. The ones that stay focused focus on the basics and don't try to reinvent the wheel are the ones that ultimately keep growing in market share and keep doing a great job in CSI and all those things. And at least for those of us that are on the sales end of the operation, if what you're doing isn't conducive towards making that next car deal, then you're wasting your time doing it.
Yeah. I think Jason?
Those are all great. Those are all great things said, and it's a combination of everything I believe they've said. I've been fortunate in my life to have some mentors that I could ask a ton of questions from and not sound like I didn't know what I was doing or I was afraid to. So I always recommend find a mentor. I think a couple of people have said this: be open to change and be a student of our industry and a student of what's happening. Don't be afraid to try new things. At the same time, don't chase the great thing, but try the things that are positive. Listen to other people. And the last thing is combining all of that, the art and the science of our business. Things haven't changed in our business, and things have changed, and it's being the person that is willing to adapt that and hustle and just make a good push to get everybody motivated and excited.
And on the subject of mentors, it can be really hard to make that connection, to reach out to a potential mentor and sort of really say, I want to learn from you, I want to follow in your footsteps. Do you have any advice, as someone who's done that? You said multiple times. How do you make that connection?
The best way I made the connection was at any time I was in a position that I started, and I started as small as I started in the factory side, working in industry. I just asked questions, and if you start asking questions, and people, what they realized was I was interested in not just my one job, but I was interested in the company, I was interested in the culture, I was interested in how to progress and not just be stale. And what I've noticed is people come to you and they'll notice that, hey, you've got something, I want to hand you something, I want to give you some knowledge. And some of it was good and some of it was bad. I've learned what not to do by listening to some of these mentors. Mostly, though, a lot of them have taught me how to be humble and how to listen and have those skills. So it was really just putting myself out there and being open to failing, and that's how it worked for me.
Thanks to all of you for sharing your thoughts on that. I'm going to move over to the questions from the audience. We got a question from Tom Stuker. He's asking, how does the new H2H, human-to-human concept affect your social campaigns and plans? Anyone care to comment on that?
Well, I think you have to be a combination. I think I said earlier in this conference, this call, that you can't abandon one idea from another just because we're in a technology age or we're in a digital age. You really, that human factor, and I just said a little while ago, it's the art and science of our game. It's how do you train, how do you leverage all your vendors, because they all have training programs, they're all doing studies on consumer behavior, they're all doing studies on transactional behavior. So we have to look and take all the information, pile it down as quick as we can to a readable, learnable level, and teach our staff to be able to produce on all levels of this business.
Anyone else have any thoughts on Tom's question? All right, move on to the next one. We got a question from Roger asking, what additional IT or technology assistance do you think that OEMs could provide?
I guess that would depend on if you truly mean IT or if you mean digital assistance, because they really are two very different things. But OEMs have to get away from sending people in to sell things and get in the habit of sending people in to teach things. That's the difference. We're students of the business. We have to always be learning and always be educated. And the OEMs do a great job in a lot of areas, but one where I definitely see a need for improvement is when it comes to digital.
Mobile platforms specifically.
You want to expound on that, Adil? What about mobile platforms?
Well, we know, like, as our business right now is, obviously moving towards the platform world, and depending on what vendor, what services they provide. But I think OEMs can be a little bit more involved in terms of doing a little bit more research on that arena versus only relying on vendors.
Got it. All right, we got a fun question here from CompuMatrix. They ask, with the emergence of virtual currencies, people are now able to pay for anything they want to purchase, including automobiles using their mobile phone e-wallets or BitPay. How are dealerships coping with this technology? Have any of you ever processed a payment in Bitcoin?
I haven't yet, but I'll take one. So if somebody's looking to buy in Bitcoin, we're probably in. No, we really haven't. I like to think we're really progressive, but we're ever changing just like everybody else, and we haven't had to deal with the need for it yet, so we haven't yet had to come up with a response.
Have any of you had to?
For us, we've got the General Motors Shop, Click, and Drive program, and it's funny because people still want to talk to people before they make a decision. They still want to come to a dealership. They still want to sit in the car. They still want to smell it, drive it, feel it before they'll take delivery of it. So it hasn't changed much on our front.
Now, not everyone who's listening may be familiar with that program. Maybe they've read about it, hopefully in Automotive News. But could you explain how that program works? Just tell people how Shop, Click, Drive works.
The idea is that you can shop for a vehicle in the comfort of your home, select a vehicle, package, equipment, color, and go through the whole transaction without coming to the dealership. It's a great idea. We see some leads come from it, but ultimately it still comes down to the customer wants to speak to somebody and see a vehicle.
Yeah, how do customers end up using it? Is it a person who really wants to sort of, have a quick, seamless web process, or is it just a way to get the process started for them?
It seems to be a way to start the process.
Mm-hmm.
Take some information, but it'll still require a little bit of human interaction.
I feel like Shop, Click, Drive is most successful, like most of the lead conversion tools online that funnel somebody through a buying process, so Shop, Click, Drive or Make My Deal, for example. Either one of those, I think those are really effective at the end of the process. I think people come out, they do their research online, they do their research offline, and then when they're ready, after they've test driven and, like you said, talk to a person, then they're going on and committing to the vehicle. It's not as often as one might think it would be, and often it may even be done in the beginning, but the majority of the time it is at the end of the purchase cycle that we're seeing that.
Got it. Well, I'm disappointed to hear that no one's processed a payment in Bitcoin, because that would be a cool story, and I think a lot of people could learn from that. But we'll move on to the next question here. We got a question from Amy Hughes, who's asking, what resources do you wish existed in the industry to support your desire to continually learn? And what areas of the industry do you wish you could dive into deeper to prepare for the next 5 years? I mean, I guess there's a lot of ways to learn out there, things like NADA Academy, and a lot of your dealership groups have their own processes for continual education. But what do you wish was out there? What areas would you want to learn about?
I come from an amazing organization where training is fully supported, and so I am very blessed, and I know that, but not everybody is. would say that as many conferences and whatnot that I attend, I'd like to look at other industries, things like, the hotel industry, things like that, because that level of customer service, that's what we're trying to improve consistently. It's all about the experience. If we really want to be successful and we really want people to come back, then everything else we're doing is to generate an opportunity. The next step is not just that conversion of the opportunity, but it is getting back to repeat business and loyalty, using other industries to do it. So for me, I feel like that would be a solid way to spend some training time. And I feel like I could take something from it outside of our industry that might cause some outside of the box thinking.
Now this reminds me of something, and I'm sorry to be twisting the question a little bit here, but Adil, we spoke before, and you were telling me about the companies that you admire for their sort of customer service model. Would you mind sharing with the audience here sort of who you admire and how you try to bring that to your own business?
Yeah, absolutely. You know, in the car business, I feel that we are in a hospitality business. People like to do business with people they like. And to truly deliver a truly exceptional experience, the companies that I think of right off the bat, Disney World, Apple, Starbucks, these companies their training and the way they impact their human capital is amazing as far as the training, and they really understand that. So the process of how they do that, they respect the people's time, and the simplicity of how you deliver the experience is really difficult to achieve. And the only way to do it is through proper training.
I actually watched a training this morning, sat in on a training this morning, and it's interesting you say that. I'm a huge fan of Zappos, and that's their background is through hospitality, the people that they're hiring. But one of the things I heard somebody say in training this morning that really stuck with me was, he said, you guys have to stop thinking of yourselves as car salesmen and start thinking of yourselves as car geniuses, because we're delivering an experience these days. We're not selling a product, we're selling an experience. And if we can wrap that all up into one pretty little package, we're going to be very successful doing so.
All right. Anyone else have any thoughts on what you've tried to learn from other industries outside the car business to inform the way you operate?
I think creating employee happiness is it's important and critical. When people are happy, they're able to deliver a great experience, and it's extremely important, as you want to focus on delivering a great experience for the customer. You also have to deliver a great experience for the employees by really understanding that life balance and everything matters. They have to be emotionally connected to the business, and it starts from the leadership level to everyone must know your story.
Yeah. So we're just about out of time here. So I just wanted to see Alex, Jason, Matthew. Do any of you have any closing thoughts on this point before we wrap it up?
Just to follow up on what everybody else has said is, we ask our employees. I've been very fortunate to be part of a great company, to be forward-thinking and progressive in CUNY Automotive, but I've also listened to my employees, and they're part of diverse backgrounds, and they give us a tremendous amount of opportunity to seek out training and what's happening in the market.
One thing I would mention with Ford, we have a thing called Consumer Experience Movement, and that's been we've been on that now for 3 years, and it's for the Ford dealers out there that know what I'm talking about. It's a way to get great feedback from your employees and real candid feedback, and it's a great sounding board for them. We do it yearly. It's a yearly survey with continual coaching throughout the year, and not to plug Ford, but more just the process is great. And anytime you can, to go on Adil's point, if you have happy employees, ultimately that's going to translate to happy customers.
That's a great point. Matthew, any thoughts?
As part of the Hendrick organization, our culture is our belief system, and to everybody else's credit, it starts with your team, and if you believe, they'll believe, and if you don't, they won't. So it's an everyday, all-day focus, and taking care of our team and our employees will build a great environment and translate right through to the customer. Yeah,
I can agree with all of you more. Happy team, happy employees, that's going to lead to happy customers at the end of the day. It's a good note to close on here. And that was a lot of great ideas that we were able to get in there into that half hour. I hope all the people watching on the internet enjoyed that greatly. So thank you so much, Matthew, Alex, Bobby, Jason, and Adil for sharing your insights with us, and Andrea and Ally Auto for supporting this event. If you'd like to rewatch this recording or missed it the first time, or you want to refer it to anyone who missed it the first time, rather, it'll be available at www.autonews.com/40hangout. That's 40 hangout. The full list of 2014 40 Under 40 honorees, their stories, interviews, video, and more is available in Monday's print edition of Automotive News and online at www.autonews.com/40under40retail. That's 40 under 40 retail. Have a great day, everyone, and thank you for joining us.